Good evening, Sarawak. It's 8 p.m. Friday, January 8th. This is DDWeekly. It's good to be with you. I'm Ling Hui. We're here to bring you a recap of the top news stories that made headlines across Sarawak for the week. The start to the new year was a grim one, as Sarawak was grievously shaken following news of a family of 9, including a 4-month-old baby, drowned after the four-wheel drive vehicle they were travelling in accidentally plunged into the Batang Lupa River upon approaching the Triso ferry wharf in Sibu. The scene at the Triso ferry wharf that late afternoon was chaotic and horrifying, as bystanders together with ferry crews scrambled into waters to rescue, pull out and recover the lifeless bodies. Many were traumatized by the event, including the captain of one of the ferries who witnessed the entire event unfolded. Despite the rescue efforts and attempts to resuscitate them on site, none of the victims survived. 3 out of the 9 were laid to rest at Nirvana Memorial Park in Sibu on January 5th, while the other 6 victims were buried at the Islamic graveyard in Kampung Hulu in Simangang on January 2nd. Expressing empathy and concern for the families, Sarawak Islamic Council pledged to bear all costs associated with the funeral management of the Triso ferry tragedy victims. Taking this incident very seriously, Deputy Chief Minister Tan Sri Dr. James Jomet Masing himself visited the site of incident the next day to find out the cause of accident and to provide solutions to prevent the same tragedy from happening. There at the Trisol ferry point, he emphasized, the Public Works Department (JKR) Sarawak will install railings at all ferry crossing points to ensure that vehicles do not go beyond a certain limit when waiting for the ferry. At the same time, 3 important standard operating procedures will be enforced immediately at all ferry points. First one being the installation of railings at the ramp. Second, to have all passengers to exit their vehicles except the driver when boarding the ferry. And third, to station a guard to manage and control vehicles going onto the ferry. For long-term solutions, Masing, who is also Minister of Infrastructure and Port Development, stressed that the construction of Batang Lupa Bridge, which is going to replace the Triso ferry wharf, had already begun and scheduled for completion in 4 years' time. The bridge, spanning 5 kilometers, will be the longest in Sarawak. The other 8 bridge projects include Batang Ikan, Batang Muara Lasa, Batang Palo, Batang Rambungan, Batang Rajang, Sungai Krian, Batang Saribas, and Batang Kemenat. When these bridges are done in 2025 or 2026, Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg asserted that ferry services will no longer be needed throughout Sarawak by then. Construction for all bridges have taken off and ongoing with allocations from the Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS government. Starting January 9, the number of scheduled flights to Sibu and Miri will be reduced, taking into consideration the limited number of hotel rooms available for quarantine purposes and the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah. This decision was agreed by State Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) and Ministry of Transport following an announcement by SDMC Chairman Dato' Ahmad Douglas Uga Embas that home quarantines are no longer allowed for returnees. Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia will operate 1 flight each from Kuala Lumpur to Sibu per week. Flights from Kuala Lumpur, Kota Kinabalu, Johor and Labuan to Miri have also been cut by almost half the numbers. To avoid any last-minute cancellation of flights that could cause public inconveniences, such as the unapproved Kota Kinabalu to Sibu flight scheduled on January 3rd incident, Minister of Transport Datuk Lee Kim Shin urged all airlines to follow strictly on the approved flight schedules. As for the public, please be advised to refer to the updated flight schedule before you book or purchase your flight tickets. February 22nd will mark the start of Sibu Pelajaran Malaysia SPM examinations for Form 5 students in Malaysia. But with the increasing number of daily COVID-19 cases nationwide, with the highest reaching over 3,000 cases just yesterday, Sarawak Democratic Action Party DAP Chairman Chong Chen has urged the Education Ministry to scrap off the 2020 SPM examinations. He pointed out that the current COVID-19 situation is worse than the time when the Education Ministry announced the postponement of the SPM examinations last year. Looking at the daily COVID-19 cases running up to 4-digit figure every day and the further extension of the Recovery Movement Control Order until March 31st, he said it is unlikely that the situation is safe for SPM to be held in the first quarter of 2021. Thus, Chong strongly urged the Education Ministry to quickly come up with alternative measures, if not just do away with the SPM examinations and adopt the school assessment system as the basis of the SPM certificate. With the examination just around the corner, he emphasized that forcing students to risk their health to sit for exams are not the right solution to this issue. 3 Sarawak opposition parties, the Democratic Action Party DAP, Parti Keadilan Rakyat PKR and Parti Amanah Negara Amanah, have formed an alliance to increase the chances of a government change in the upcoming Sarawak 12th state election. In honor of this collaboration, DAP Sarawak Chairman Chong Chen, PKR Sarawak Chairman Larry Seng, and Amanah Sarawak Chairman Abang Abdul Halil Abang Naili have signed an agreement on the allocation of the 82 seats the respective parties will contest in. It was agreed that PKR will be contesting in 47 seats, DAP in 26 seats, and Amanah in 9 seats. DAP and PKR, which had faced each other in 6 seats in the last state election in 2016, have now reached a consensus to share the seats fairly. DAP candidates will contest in Batu Kitang, Simanggang, and Mambong, while PKR candidates will fight in Ngema, Murong, and Wulu. Meanwhile, with the uncertain and critical political situation in Peninsular Malaysia of late, Bandar Kuching MP Kelvin Yee has called on the Perkhidmatan Nasional PN federal government not to hold a snap poll in the first quarter of this year, as he believed it is unsafe to have the 15th general election amid the reeling COVID-19 crisis. Commenting on UMNO leaders trying to push for a snap election, political analyst Professor Dr. Jayam Jawan opined that a snap general election will not help in easing the current political instability in Malaysia because there is not one prominent political party that could lead a strong coalition to form a stable federal government. Coming up next is more updates on Sarawak Development. Sarawak is a beautiful and valuable jewel that everybody desires, with even attempts to snatch it from the hands of Sarawakians. This was what Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg said when he called on the people of Batu Kawah to be as strong as Batu, the rocks, in protecting not only Batu Kawah but the entire Sarawak from any influence to disunite them. Confident to drive Sarawak into a high-income state by 2030, he stressed that Sarawak is in a good position with strong economic fundamentals, abundance of resources, talented human capital, and harmonious living that earned the state as the shining star that drew many workers and investors here, even during this pandemic. He added that Sarawak and state government, with many of its great leaders, have reached many milestones throughout his 3-year tenure as Chief Minister, including enhancing the financial position of Sarawak with extra income, taking back Bakun Hydroelectric Dam, improving the education sector and digital infrastructures, as well as countless projects implemented statewide. Thus, Abang Johari called upon the people to join Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS in protecting Sarawak against negative influences and together in driving the state towards prosperity. On development in Batu Kawah, the 9.8 million ringgit makeover for the abandoned Ang Cheng Ho Quarry overlooking a 20-acre natural lake with a new sports community hall with innovation hub has taken off and is expected to be completed in 15 months. Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg had also announced an additional 5 million ringgit for the project to cover land acquisition, construction of access roads, and the increase in other costs. The project will feature a multi-purpose sports and community hall that can accommodate 1,000 people and can be utilized as basketball and badminton courts, as well as a modern banquet hall for recreational, entertainment, and other events. There will also be approximately 3,000 square feet of office space to serve as an innovation hub for young entrepreneurs and to empower startups and social enterprises. Abang Johari, who officiated at the groundbreaking ceremony, revealed that the whole area from Batu Kawah to Bau will be transformed in the next 5 years, with enhanced mobility to include the autonomous rail transit ART that is now in its implementation stages. With efforts to change the economic functions of Bau into another tourism hub given the many attractions there, he added that Batu Kawah, which is located in the middle between Kuching and Bau, will definitely receive the spillovers from all the development planned. Now let's look at the COVID-19 situation in the state. In the past 7 days, cases have been on the rise with 63 new cases recorded. With that, the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in Sarawak now stands at 1,180. There are now 8 COVID-19 yellow zones in the state, namely Sri Aman, Kuching, Miri, Sibu, Bintulu, Meradong, Bukit Mabong, and Lawas. 4 clusters have emerged in the past week. They are the Keranji Tabuan cluster and Stutong cluster in Kuching, Madur cluster in Meradong, and Bah Sayap cluster in Miri. As the number of COVID-19 cases continue to increase nationwide, the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO throughout Malaysia has been extended until March 31st. Following this announcement by the federal government, State Disaster Management Committee SDMC informed that all existing standard operating procedures imposed in 2020, including the restrictions on entry into Sarawak, will also be extended until end of March. On the updates for SOPs announced in the past week, Sarawak Government will bear the cost of quarantine and COVID-19 tests for children aged 3 and above who are born outside Sarawak to one or both parents are Sarawakians. This includes non-Sarawakians whose spouses are Sarawakian citizens, provided that their certificate of marriage is presented. Meanwhile, SDMC has decided to reveal the information of places visited by COVID-19 positive cases, including time and date, in their daily reports, to facilitate contact tracing and encourage the public to go for screening. State Health Department Director Dr. Chin Zing Hing also said that Health Ministry will get the MySejahtera app to send messages to alert those who have checked in to places visited by positive cases to undergo COVID-19 screening at the nearest clinic. SDMC also reminded the public that it is compulsory to provide name, mobile number, and time when entering any premises or check-in using MySejahtera app. Otherwise, those caught will be fined 1,500 ringgit. Operators of premises must also ensure that employees are assigned to monitor patrons when checking in and their temperature taken. That is the DD Weekly News for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Ling Hui and you have a great weekend.